Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be exploring a really fascinating project. HastingsNow.com is launching this thing called the Local Exchange
Yeah.
in 2025, and it's going to be a year-long cultural exchange with 12 neighboring communities.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Think of it as like a real-life pen pal program, but like for whole towns. Each month, Hastings is going to visit a different city, and they'll be sharing their experiences and stories. Then, get this, they're going to host each of those towns in return.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And we're going to be looking at this through a historical lens.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like how might figures like Ibn Khaldun or Frederick Douglass, even Marie Curie Wangari Maathai and Zora Neale Hurston, how might they have viewed a project like this?
You know, that's what I think makes this deep dive so fascinating. It's not just about, events and festivals. It's about how can a community build these deeper connections with its neighbors and really, create some understanding.
Yeah. So to start, let's set the scene a little bit. Hastings, Minnesota. They're known for having a really strong sense of community.
Okay.
And starting in January 2025, they're going to be connecting with 12 surrounding cities.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. So you've got Red Wing, Northfield, Prescott,
Prescott, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah. And the list goes on.
That's a pretty ambitious undertaking.
It is.
Yeah.
And they're aiming to strengthen regional partnerships through this, foster cultural enrichment, and even create some shared prosperity.
That's great.
Yeah. And get this. They're documenting the whole journey through stories, videos, social media.
Really?
Yeah. They're using the hashtag Hastings Exchange.
I love that.
Yeah.
They're bringing everyone along for the ride.
I know. It's not just a top-down thing.
Right, yeah.
They're calling on residents, businesses, community members to get involved. It's about everyone contributing.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Now, this is what I am so intrigued by, this historical perspective we talked about.
Okay.
Let's start with Ibn Khaldun,
Okay.
the 14th century historian.
Mhm.
Now, he emphasized this concept of asabiya,
Mm.
social solidarity, that group feeling.
Exactly. And you can see how that relates directly back to the local exchange. He believed that shared experiences and a sense of belonging, those were just crucial for the strength and stability of any society.
Right.
He might even suggest that HastingsNow.com, focuses on documenting these shared stories, creating a sort of historical record of this whole project.
For future generations.
Exactly. Almost like they're building a living archive of all these regional connections.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what about someone like Frederick Douglass?
Oh, yeah.
A powerful voice for social justice.
Mm-hmm.
Would he push for a more critical lens?
I think you're right. Douglas might caution against just, celebrating connection without really looking at some of the deeper issues.
Addressing them.
Exactly. He'd probably emphasize inclusivity, making sure that the exchange really reflects the diverse voices within each community.
So making sure that they don't unintentionally overlook any marginalized communities or historical injustices.
Precisely. He'd be a strong advocate for using the local exchange as this platform for open dialogue and addressing those difficult conversations.
Not just focusing on feel-good events.
Exactly.
Now, what about Marie Curie,
Oh, good one.
the groundbreaking scientist?
Right.
Would she just be looking at this through a lens of innovation and progress?
Well, Curie definitely valued scientific advancement, but her work often involved collaboration.
Across disciplines.
Exactly. So I think she'd be fascinated by the potential here for a cross-pollination of ideas, between artists and local businesses.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Maybe this could lead to new forms of creative entrepreneurship in Hastings.
That's a really cool thought. So it's not just about sharing culture, but potentially sparking these new ventures and economic opportunities.
Exactly. And Curie's emphasis on mentorship might translate into these knowledge-sharing programs between communities.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and that could end up fostering innovation in some unexpected ways.
Okay, so we've got social solidarity, we've got inclusivity, we've got innovation. What about the environmental angle?
Yes.
Wangari Maathai,
Of course.
a passionate advocate for sustainability.
Absolutely.
How would she approach the local exchange, do you think?
Maathai would likely champion the environmental responsibility of this whole project.
Okay.
She might encourage Hastings to prioritize eco-friendly transportation options for these exchanges and incorporate activities that promote sustainable practices.
Like what?
Oh, maybe even tree planting.
It's like a green cultural exchange.
Exactly. I could see her advocating for collaborations around local food systems or renewable energy initiatives.
Absolutely. She'd see the potential for the local exchange to be a model for responsible tourism,
Definitely.
demonstrating that economic growth and environmental stewardship can go hand in hand.
I think so.
And lastly, Zora Neale Hurston, the celebrated author and anthropologist.
Yes.
What would she bring to this conversation?
Well, Hurston was all about capturing those unique stories and traditions of a community.
Right.
And I think she'd urge Hastings to really embrace the richness of each participating town, making sure those distinct voices and cultural practices are highlighted.
It's about celebrating what makes each place special, while also finding those common threads that connect us all.
Exactly.
I'm really starting to see how this project, though seemingly simple, has so many layers.
It does, of complexity.
That's the beauty of it.
It is.
The local exchange has the potential to touch upon so many different aspects of community life: history, economics, social justice, environmentalism, the arts. It's a microcosm, really, of the human experience.
And it all starts with that simple act of connecting with your neighbor.
That's true.
But before we delve deeper into that, I think we need to pause here for a moment.
Okay.
What's resonating with you most so far about the local exchange? Which historical figure's perspective are you finding most compelling?
That's a good question.
And why? Let me think for a sec. For me, it's the potential for unforeseen consequences.
Right.
This is a year-long commitment,
Right.
and I wonder how sustainable that's really going to be. Is there a risk of burnout? Or maybe that initial enthusiasm will just kind of wane over time.
It's a really good point. A project like this requires sustained energy and resources, not just from HastingsNow.com, but from all those participating communities.
Exactly. And then there's also that challenge of ensuring that, the benefits are shared.
Yeah.
How do you prevent this from becoming one-sided, with one community benefiting more than the other?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Each community needs to feel like an equal partner in the exchange,
Right.
not just a recipient or a performer.
And that brings up the question of power dynamics.
Oh, interesting.
Are there, historical or economic disparities between these communities that they need to address?
That's a crucial point, especially in light of Frederick Douglass's perspective.
Yeah.
They need to make sure this exchange doesn't reinforce existing inequalities.
Exactly. They could even use the local exchange as an opportunity to examine those power dynamics and find ways to create a more equitable regional landscape.
Now let's go back to a more positive note for a second.
Okay.
HastingsNow.com has outlined some pretty ambitious goals for this. They're hoping to strengthen regional partnerships, foster cultural enrichment, and create shared prosperity.
It is ambitious.
Yeah.
Do you think it's realistic?
I think it's definitely aspirational,
That's good,
which is a good thing.
but it's important to have metrics for success.
Sure.
How will they measure the impact of all of this?
Yeah. What does shared prosperity actually look like? Is it about increased tourism? Is it new business ventures? Or is it something less tangible, like a sense of regional identity?
Right, and how will they ensure that any of those economic benefits are distributed equitably throughout the whole region?
It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
But that's not always the case.
No, it's not.
They need to make sure everyone benefits from this rising tide.
Exactly. And it's not just about the economics. How will they measure the impact on the social fabric of these communities? Will it lead to more civic engagement, greater understanding between different groups, or just, more opportunities for people to connect?
And let's not forget the environmental impact. While they're promoting these sustainable practices, there's still that carbon footprint to consider.
Oh, of course. Especially with all the travel.
Exactly. They'll need to find ways to mitigate that. Maybe carbon offsets, or incorporating more virtual elements.
Maybe they could even use it as an opportunity for environmental education.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, raising awareness about climate change, sustainable living, things like that.
It's about finding those creative solutions and turning potential challenges into opportunities for growth.
For learning.
Exactly. One thing that fascinates me about the local exchange is the potential for those unexpected discoveries.
Yes.
What might the people of Hastings learn from their neighbors?
What unique perspectives and traditions?
Or even just ways of life?
Yeah, that might challenge their assumptions.
That's what cultural exchange is all about, right?
I think so. It's about stepping outside of your comfort zone and encountering the unfamiliar
And expanding your understanding.
of the world.
It's about embracing that sense of wonder and curiosity.
Like Zora Neale Hurston.
Yes. And it's not just about the big formal events.
Yeah.
It's those small, everyday interactions that can be just as transformative.
Definitely. Imagine a local artist from Hastings collaborating with a musician from Red Wing.
Or a school group from Northfield visiting a historical site in Prescott.
Yeah, it's those personal connections that really make it all come alive.
And those connections can ripple outward,
Absolutely.
creating a web of relationships,
And with social media, those ripples can reach a global audience.
inspiring others.
Exactly.
It's like planting a seed
That can grow into something much larger.
than anyone could have imagined. But for that seed to thrive, it needs fertile ground. What do you think are the key ingredients for something like this to be successful?
I think it starts with genuine curiosity and a willingness to embrace the unknown.
To be open to new experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah, like that open-minded spirit of Ibn Khaldun. He was able to bridge different cultures and historical periods,
Exactly. And you need that courage.
like Frederick Douglass.
Yes. To challenge assumptions and address those uncomfortable truths.
And a little bit of Marie Curie's collaborative spirit.
Yeah. To foster those partnerships and spark innovation.
And we can't forget Wangari Maathai,
Of course not.
her commitment to sustainability.
Yes. This isn't just about cultural exchange. It's about creating a more just and sustainable future.
For everyone.
Exactly. And you have to weave in Zora Neale Hurston's appreciation for those unique stories and voices.
Making sure the exchange represents everyone.
And is inclusive.
It sounds like a recipe for something really special.
It does.
And I'm curious about the potential pitfalls, too.
Oh, sure.
What could derail a project like this?
Well, one obvious challenge is funding. A year-long project like this is going to take some serious financial resources.
Definitely.
HastingsNow.com will need to find sustainable funding.
Grants, sponsorships,
All of that.
community fundraising.
It's not just about the money, though.
Right.
It's about people power.
Yeah, they'll need volunteers.
And staff to coordinate everything.
And they'll need to be mindful of burnout.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
They got to pace themselves.
Exactly, to make sure that enthusiasm and that energy is there all year.
What about the potential for conflict? Bringing 12 different communities together,
Oh, yeah.
each with their own history and values,
That perspective.
could lead to clashes.
That's true. They'll need to have some really clear communication channels and conflict resolution strategies in place.
To address any disagreements or misunderstandings.
Exactly.
It's like they're creating this little microcosm of the world
They are.
with all its complexities.
It's challenges.
But if they can navigate all that,
Oh, imagine the rewards.
it could be transformative
Not just for Hastings and those participating communities.
for the whole region.
Exactly. Imagine these 12 communities not just as neighbors, but as partners
Working together,
on economic development,
environmental sustainability.
arts and culture.
It's a vision of a more connected,
Prosper,
vibrant region.
all sparked by this one act of cultural exchange.
And it starts with a single step.
HastingsNow.com has thrown down the gauntlet
Now it's up to the communities to pick it up.
and run with it.
For those of us outside of this region,
Yeah.
what can we learn from the local exchange?
I think it reminds us that we can all create these connections
Bridge divides
and build community.
wherever we live.
It starts with curiosity
Willingness to listen.
and believing in that shared humanity.
That binds us all together.
It does.
So as we wrap up our deep dive today,
Yes.
we'll leave you with this challenge.
Okay.
Take a look around your own community.
I was there.
What are those hidden gems waiting to be discovered? What connections can you make? How can you contribute to a more vibrant and interconnected world?
Remember, even the smallest acts of kindness and connection.
Could add a ripple effect.
Be the pebble that makes those ripples.
And be sure to follow the local exchange
On HastingsNow.com
and social media.
using #HastingsExchange.
We can't wait to see what unfolds.
Me too.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting.